Don't you just love our current environment? I mean, the coral is bleaching, we're burning our forests on purpose, and our oceans are getting so acidic that shellfish literally dissolve. But hey, at least it's not like the environment depicted in Ori and the Blind Forest, developed by Moon Studios and published by Microsoft, released in 2015 for Xbox and PC, and 2019 for Switch, where the environment is so bad it literally caused a mass extinction event that wiped out the entire population. Right? Maybe if I talk about that game I just mentioned, and any of its sequels, I'll forget about all of the problems I just remembered we have of our environment. Yeah, let's do that. So the story is actually more complicated than you would think. Basically, this goofy-out bird stole the light that regulates the forest, and as a result, the elements were all thrown out of whack. And now you as, I don't know, what would you call this, Ghost Bambi, has to manually go and fix them all. It's complicated and tries to make you cry by the end. It didn't get a tear out of me though, as nothing this game says could have been more depressing than the fact that only 6% of people who watched my last video were actually subscribed. I didn't even know the number went that low. The main problem I have with the story is what's not in the cutscenes. Other than the main characters, there are no NPCs. The forest is barren of all life besides enemies. The only time we actually see other people is in flashbacks. It really begs the question, why are we saving this forest? We seem to be the last ones here. Is it just for self-preservation? Because at that point, just leave. The art style of this game is gorgeous, as you can tell. It's probably what this game is most known for. And the animations on the 3D models are top-notch. There's this triple jump that feels great to pull off, but if you actually look closer, the triple jump doesn't actually give you more height. The animation is just so good, you don't notice. You start the game with no ability to attack, but within 5 minutes, you find the light that the bird stole that fricked up the whole ecosystem. That's convenient. But then the game tells you to press X, and when you do that, light will shoot out homing missiles. And that's the entire combat system in this game. Yeah, it's very boring. You just sit in place while you mash the button and wait for the enemy to die. Sorry, like sometimes you stand in place and stomp the ground so that even enemies 5 feet away will lose like half their health bar. You can technically move while shooting the homing missiles, but at that point just bash through the enemy and ignore them. Oh yeah, bash. I should probably talk about the abilities you get. They're hit or miss, honestly. There's super cool stuff like the glide, double jump, and wall jump. But then there's stuff like climb, which as much as I love it, is kind of pointless as a full-blown upgrade since you already have a wall jump that can climb single walls. The coolest one is bash, as I mentioned. It allows you to dash in any direction out of an enemy projectile and send projectiles in the opposite direction. It is very satisfying to unlock new abilities though. Not only does it add to your moveset, but there's the Metroidvania Classic where all this stuff you couldn't get before is now accessible. That stuff mainly includes different types of orbs. The life orbs increase your HP, the energy orbs increase your magic, which is used to save the game. I have mixed feelings on that system. And the spirit light orbs give you experience. That experience can be used on a skill tree. Sorry, my bad. A skill walkway. All you need to know about it is do blue first, red second, and you don't really need to worry about purple. It just improves your map. Just like with new abilities, it is very satisfying to finally get enough ability points to afford a cool new upgrade. The game is actually pretty linear for Metroidvania. You go and get a key, use it to open a dungeon. I mean, they're technically not dungeons, but I called them that because of Zelda. And beat a dungeon to regulate an element. Rinse and repeat. The level design of the dungeons is pretty cool. The mechanics they introduced definitely freshen things up. Other than the fact there's this ball carrying gimmick where you carry the ball and are slow and can only jump while doing so. And this mechanic shows up 3 times. Additionally, each dungeon has this escape sequence after you restore the element, and these are pretty bad. It's a fast auto-scroller, but you never get enough time to see what's coming up. That ice one in particular is a real stinker. Like, how was I supposed to know that this rock was coming? And unfortunately, due to the lackluster combat system, there's no bosses either. There's this guy who keeps coming out of the ground over and over, and I think he's supposed to be a mini-boss, but he has exactly 1 attack, so I'm not even sure. It feels like a normal enemy that was just shoved into a boss arena. And that's the first Ori game. Despite all the criticisms I have of it, it is still pretty good. It's definitely worth the $5 price point. Wait, what? I swear it was $5 for like 2 whole years. Why are they just now pushing it back up to 20? You should probably wait for a sale then. But then, in 2020, Ori and the Will of the Wisps released. So let's see how that compares. The story is a direct continuation of the first one, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but basically there's another goofy out bird, and after a while you finally help it fly. But during its flight, Ori and the bird get caught in the middle of a storm and crash land on a new forest. New one. Ori lands in a swamp, and the bird lands in the forest with yet another big bird villain, Although this one has a much cooler design from the first one. I mean, that was literally just an owl. That could have been a stock model. Its story arc is a lot more disappointing. Oh, and get this! The tree that regulates the forest died! And the light the tree uses to regulate the forest split into multiple pieces, causing an apocalyptic event, the rights of which the forest had never seen, yada yada yada, go regulate the elements again. Alright, let's get this over with. Let's go find the light that will attack for us. Wait, what's this? Grab a torch? This game is already like 3 points better. So yeah, there's an actual combat system in this game, complete with different weapons and moves to use. There's the sword, this big hammer, a bow, the list goes on. A couple of the weapons were unnecessary, like I don't think I ever used the sentry one, but the combat system is so engaging that I don't really care. You can buy these weapons from the shop, with the spirit like from before acting as currency for it. This means that the skill tree is gone, which I am mixed about. On one hand, it's an arguably better system to use your points in various goods and see exactly how many you need for the next one, instead of just having to eyeball it. But on the other hand, there was a certain joy you get from getting a new ability point. Ultimately, I do like this system more though. Spirit Light can also be used to buy maps and badges. Badges are new too. They work similar to badge systems in other games. You know, you can equip a certain amount at a time to gain various effects. Most of the badges were risk reward, you know, like do and take more damage, so I avoided most of them, but it's nice to see climb being here instead of being an upgrade like last time. You'd also upgrade the amount of badges you could carry by completing combat challenges. But hold on, who are you buying these badges from? Well, unlike Nibel from the first game where everyone was freaking dead, Newland is very heavily populated. There are a bunch of side quests to do too, which you usually just get an item and report back, but with the new fast travel upgrade, they're anything but a chore. In fact, they're actually fun. There's also a little village that you can find or the upgrade with new buildings and stuff, and it's so good. Okay, let's talk about the level design. It's much better than the first game. Not only does the general layout make it much more fun to explore, but there's so much more going on. There's climbable vines, horizontal planks that you can launch off of, blue moss that you can cling to and similarly fling off of, bounceable bubbles, you get the idea. Additionally, instead of having to find a key and then going to a dungeon, you just traverse the overworld and all the stuff is in there. This doesn't mean you are free from the escape sequences, however, they're actually fun at this time. I think it's mostly because they're horizontal rather than vertical, allowing you to have time to react to what's coming in front of you. Oh, and if you thought the first game was breathtaking, you haven't seen nothing yet, as this game blows that out of the water. And that isn't just because I finally realized OBS was recording at the wrong resolution for like my entire career. I think it's mostly due to the use of 3D models. In the first game, there were a total of like 5. But in this game, every animal has a 3D model. As a result of this and a new combat system, there are these massive bosses that are the coolest thing ever. A far cry from the single mini-boss from Ori 1, if you can even call it that. My one complaint with this game would probably be the new abilities. You get most of the returning abilities before the Wisp quest is even started, the only straggler being the light grenade. The last ability you do obtain is very cool and a much better send-off than Charge Dump, but the other 3 are all environmentally context sensitive. The burrow only lets you dig through sand, the water dash lets you attack underwater, and the flash is literally only useful to light the darkness in the area you get it in. After the darkness is gone, there's no reason for it anymore. I still did like the burrow ability a lot, but the other 2 are pretty lame. And that's Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Overall, extremely good game. So, which game is better? Gee, this is a really hard question. It could really go either way, guys. I don't know. Yeah, it's Will of the Wisps. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. I've already mentioned that Will of the Wisps improves upon everything the first game did, and more. So, it's not really a contest. I suppose if you're a speedrunner, you would like the more simplistic nature and the extremely broken glitches of the first game, but otherwise, the second game's definitely better. Although, that doesn't mean you have the right to skip the first one. As I said, the story is a direct continuation, and it's still pretty good. It's still worth your time. So definitely play both of these games. I recommend them. Also, though it's not all doom and gloom, my science teacher told me that those shellfish dissolving, they actually improve the acidity of the water. So, good for them. Taking one for the team. Wait, did I just spoil?